I stepped into the neighborhood party, my chest tight, heart hammering against my ribs. Every eye seemed to slice through me, and I knew without a doubt they were all watching, waiting. My cousin's friends lingered near the punch bowl, their smirks sharp and calculating, like predators sizing up prey. "She never gets anything right," one of them whispered, loud enough for a few others to catch, and I could feel the sting of their words even before they landed. The first joke came, soft at first, wrapped in fake sweetness. "Oh, Aunt Karen's cookies are unique," one of them said, voice dripping with false admiration. Laughter erupted instantly, piercing and cruel. The sound was sharper than any knife I'd ever felt against my skin, and my stomach knotted with helplessness. I felt my cheeks burn as they turned their attention to her, mocking the old floral dress she'd worn, the gentle quiet she always carried like armor. She smiled politely, serene on the surface, but I caught it. The flicker of anger hidden behind her calm eyes. It wasn't loud or obvious, but it burned hotter than the laughter around us. I opened my mouth, ready to defend her, but they waved me off like a pesky child. "Don't be naive," one sneered, and I froze, humiliated for even trying. Then came the spilled drink. It landed with a wet smack on the carpet, a perfect excuse for them to ramp up their torment. "Oops. Watch your step, Aunt Karen," someone cackled, and the room erupted in more laughter, crueler this time, sharper, echoing like it would never end. I noticed the subtle exchange of glances among them, the smirk that said, "We don't even need to try. She's easy prey." And yet, in her silence, I felt something shift. That calm, composed posture held a tension I hadn't understood before. It wasn't fear, it was calculation, patience, a storm biding its time. That night, alone in my room, I couldn't stop replaying the scene. Their laughter, their mocking whispers, the way they underestimated her completely, and that small, burning spark in her eyes. I lay awake, heart still racing, sensing it, the storm gathering in her quiet. The night held its breath, and I knew somehow she wasn't finished. She would turn this humiliation into something they'd never forget. I remember sitting across from my auntie, the dim kitchen light casting shadows over her face, and suddenly I saw it. All the years she had carried silently. Growing up, her talents had been invisible, dismissed by a household that barely noticed her presence. I learned later about the scholarship she had fought for, one she deserved, only to have it handed to someone else because a teacher's favoritism outweighed merit. She spoke to me once, softly, like she was admitting a secret too heavy for anyone else. Every betrayal, every backstab from friends, coworkers, even family members, she had cataloged them all in her heart. I remembered nights she worked double shifts, returning home exhausted, never recognized, never praised, always overlooked. And the betrayal that cut deepest. Her closest friend stealing the business plan she had poured her soul into. I could see her recalling the sting in her eyes, the quiet devastation she had swallowed whole. Yet she had mastered the art of masking pain behind gentle smiles, measured words, a calm exterior that fooled everyone around her. Now I understood. That calm wasn't weakness. It was strategic patience. Every slight, every insult, every disappointment had been logged, analyzed, stored for a time when she could strike back. Not recklessly, but with precision. The humiliation at the party that night was the spark that reignited a fire she had kept dormant for years. I watched as she began observing everyone. Small gestures, fleeting expressions, little cracks in their confidence. Each whisper, each smirk became a mental note, each insult a seed planted for the plan she had been crafting in silence. I realized then that nothing in her past had been wasted. Every slight, every betrayal had shaped her, honed her, prepared her for this moment. And as she looked around the room that night, her eyes sharp, calculating, I knew the storm she had been waiting for was finally ready to be unleashed. I watched her carefully, the way she moved through the neighborhood as if nothing had happened, greeting people with a soft smile, laughter in her voice that seemed effortless. But I knew better. Every handshake, every casual comment was a calculated move. She was reaching out to those who had wronged her, pretending warmth, pretending to forgive all while quietly gathering pieces of their lives. Financial secrets, personal weaknesses, social vulnerabilities. The next morning, one of the bullies, still drunk on his confidence, dropped a condescending remark within earshot. He didn't notice the slight lift in her smile, the calm in her posture. But I saw it. Her eyes glinting with the storm barely restrained, a warning unspoken yet sharp enough to cut. Late that night, I could hear her voice over the phone, low and steady, yet edged with an intensity I had never known. Each word was deliberate, strategic. She was planning, plotting, assembling her knowledge like a master architect, designing a perfect blueprint for payback. Days passed, and the local community began noticing subtle shifts. People mentioned how she carried herself differently now. Assertive without arrogance, intelligent without boasting. The bullies grew restless. Something about her poised presence unsettled them. I watched in fascination as she tested reactions, revealing just enough truth to plant doubt, letting tiny cracks appear in their confident facades. Each confrontation was deliberate, measured. No shouting, no desperation, only calculated nudges, small but precise, like chess moves on a board I could barely keep up with. And then it happened. People began to see her differently. Not as the quiet, underestimated aunt, but as someone who commanded attention effortlessly, whose intelligence and subtle authority couldn't be ignored. The humiliation from the party, once so sharp and cutting, began to invert. She no longer reacted. She orchestrated. The power had shifted invisibly, undeniably. The bullies didn't realize it yet, but she had the upper hand, and it was only a matter of time before the storm she had been quietly summoning broke over them. The phone rang late one night, and I almost didn't recognize the voice on the other end. An unexpected ally, someone who knew the bullies' secrets. Each word that came through the line felt like a key unlocking a hidden door. She listened quietly, absorbing every detail. Financial misdeeds, personal betrayals, the lies they had carefully buried from everyone's eyes. I watched her, sitting there in the dim glow of the lamp, a faint knowing smile tugging at her lips. It was subtle, but I could see it. Her plan crystallizing, each piece falling into place like a perfect puzzle. The tension around us felt electric. The very next day, one of the bullies made a reckless online post, oblivious to the fact that it exposed far more than intended. I noticed her eyes narrow, a spark igniting as she recognized an opportunity she had been waiting for. She didn't act immediately, but her gaze said it all. Patience now, perfection later. A few days later, she cornered the ringleader privately. There were no raised voices, no dramatic confrontation. She spoke softly, deliberately, allowing him to connect the dots himself. The realization hit him like a punch, the weight of his own arrogance pressing down. Outwardly, the world remained unaware. People continued their routines, gossiping and laughing, oblivious to the shift in power occurring just beneath the surface. But I could see it. The balance had shifted irrevocably. Her calm authority began to radiate, subtle but undeniable, intimidating even the loudest critics. I watched the first cracks appear in their once unshakable confidence. Hesitation in their speech, uncertainty in their steps, fear flickering in their eyes. And then came the symbolic gesture. In a public venue, she reclaimed her dignity in a way that couldn't be ignored. A poised comment, a controlled smile, a quiet assertion of presence. It was enough. The turning point had arrived. The air itself seemed to change. Whispers faded, laughter faltered, and I realized with a shiver that she was no longer the underestimated aunt. Everyone, consciously or not, felt the shift. She had become untouchable, and the storm she had been quietly building had finally arrived. The night of the charity event arrived, and I could feel the tension in the air as we stepped into the grand hall. My auntie moved with deliberate grace, her presence calm yet commanding. She didn't shout. She didn't accuse. Instead, she exposed subtle lies with an elegance that cut deeper than any confrontation could. Every carefully chosen word landed like a scalpel. I watched the bullies' faces as her composure left them speechless, the confidence they had flaunted for so long evaporating in real time. Her voice was steady, eloquent. Each pause weighted, each glance sharp. Then she began revealing documented evidence of past manipulations, not all at once, but in calculated doses that made their audience question everything they thought they knew. Friends and neighbors, previously blind to the truth, started murmuring, exchanging looks of disbelief. Doubt crept into conversations where there had been certainty, shaking the bully's credibility and leaving their integrity in tatters. She didn't stop there. Legal threats were delivered quietly, almost offhand, but the psychological impact was enormous. I could see the panic flicker in their eyes, subtle but unmistakable. On top of that, a social media post appeared, highlighting her achievements, her intelligence, her poise, undermining their ridicule without ever naming them. Then came the confrontation I had been waiting for. She faced the main instigator in front of a gathering of witnesses. Her words were precise, measured, each one cutting deeper than any scream or accusation could. The humiliation returned, cinematic and complete. The laughter and smirks they had once wielded so freely were gone, replaced by shock, regret, and fear. She didn't just win. She dismantled their narrative completely, leaving no room for doubt, no place for recovery. Every carefully constructed lie, every moment of past arrogance, crumbled under her quiet authority. By the end, the power dynamic was unmistakably hers. The bully's arrogance, once so formidable, had been shattered, leaving them exposed and powerless, while she stood resolute, victorious, and untouchable. The neighborhood buzzed with whispers, hushed tones replacing the laughter and mockery that had once filled the streets. No one dared to challenge her now. The quiet strength she radiated demanded respect, and everyone felt it. She moved through the same spaces that had once humiliated her, but this time, heads turned in acknowledgement, admiration flickering in eyes that had once sneered. I watched as she quietly rebuilt her social standing, step by deliberate step, earning respect without ostentation. The bullies, once so arrogant, now faced social and professional consequences, their pride shattered in ways that left them exposed and cautious. For the first time in years, I saw her relax. The tension that had weighed on her shoulders, tight and relentless, seemed to dissolve. She carried herself differently now, lighter, freer, untethered from the burdens of humiliation. Legal victories and public acknowledgement reinforced the triumph she had orchestrated. Each acknowledgement, each recognition, was a testament to her patience, her strategy, her resilience. She didn't stop there. She began mentoring others who had been underestimated, passing on her silent strength like a secret weapon, teaching them how to turn humiliation into power. I realized then that every slight, every betrayal she had endured had forged her strategic brilliance. Every insult had been a teacher, every failure a stepping stone toward mastery. The family celebrated her victory quietly, savoring the moment away from prying eyes, aware that true triumph doesn't always need an audience. The emotional scars remained, faint echoes of past pain, but they no longer dictated her life. She had reclaimed control completely. One evening, she smiled at me, a simple, knowing curve of her lips. No words were needed. The message was clear. Justice is sweetest when it is calculated, deliberate, and inevitable. And in that moment, I understood fully. She had won not just against them, but against every doubt and every obstacle that had ever tried to hold her back. I look back on that night. The weight of humiliation still vivid, and the slow, burning revenge that followed. It all shaped her legend. Every whisper, every mocking glance, every laugh that cut sharper than a blade was a thread in the tapestry of what she would become. This story isn't just about victory. It's about patience, about strategy, about claiming your power without sacrificing dignity. Every setback she endured became a tool, every insult a stepping stone that led her closer to vindication. I think about how dangerous it is to underestimate someone's quiet strength. The ones who seem small, who smile politely while the world mocks them, they may be plotting their rise, observing every weakness, biding their time. That underestimation is often the gravest mistake anyone can make. For anyone watching this, let this be a lesson. Resilience, cleverness, and calm determination can transform ridicule into triumph. My auntie's journey proves that true revenge is as much emotional and psychological as it is public spectacle. It is the patience, the hidden strategy, the calculated moments that make the victory unforgettable. So think carefully before dismissing the silent ones in your life. Observe, respect, and never assume they lack power. If you've ever witnessed someone take humiliation and turn it into victory, comment below. Share your story. Honor that strength. Subscribe to follow more tales of hidden resilience, of underestimated people becoming unstoppable. Remember this: the underestimated can always become the unforgettable.